was like,
I'm just gonna say,
Speaking of opera singers,
hey,
you're a bit quieter than Muffin.
hey.
Well, yes, that's pretty much a theme. That's just because I'm leaning away from my microphone. Yeah.
I believe we have an opera singer to save from an assassination.
Yes.
So
Save an
We don't have an
Hey,
opposite
segue.
but
That was smooth.
Yeah, it was very
he
smooth.
wasn't attacked in the "this is the easy place to attack her" section of the journey, and we've reached the "only a crazy person would attack her" now part of the journey.
The problem
and
is
I
we have
disapprove.
we have to get to the returning via the easy place to attack her.
Sure.
We
'Cause,
also
like,
need
the
to do a
problem is-
recap because the last video doesn't exist.
Oh, speaking of existential crisis,
Oh,
yes, we failed to
yeah.
exist last session. Right. So,
Really?
Yeah.
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 So because it was a brand new channel and we didn't know what to do with it, we forgot to flip the switch that says please save our Twitch. If you're listening for some randomized reason, would you please make intelligent choices about your UI? Everyone wants to keep the videos. Okay, just
Why would
presume
anyone
the answer
not
is
want-
on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Because
no. So the
I
default,
rate-
Still only for like X number of days, right?
yeah. So the default.
It's 14
setting-
days, which is fine. That's more than enough time to
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, no.
Why
So
would you not?
the default setting on archiving is no. And if
Yeah.
you don't know that, you don't even know to go. You don't even know there is a switch for archiving. So
Is that like, was that a change? Looks like it's been a while since I was doing any like
no,
streaming on my
it has
end,
always
but
been default.
always
off.
been like that.
I have no memory of when I was doing that, of changing any settings in that regard. But that
Let
doesn't
me
mean
do
it
it this way.
of course,
Like I said,
but-
my channel's been kicking around for 5 years now, and I remember it was something
Yeah.
I had to turn on when I first set the channel up.
Yeah, that's
So the default, like I say, it's a dumb default. Everyone will want to archive, even if it's simply for the purpose of exporting to YouTube, right? Because, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's recap.
So
let's recap.
Excellent.
You please
plan.
say on.
Let's recap. So, it's a fantasy story. Here we go. So there's the map. So real fast, because we are doing a recap, I'm just going to point out the fact that this is now the Lost Worlds Archive. We've basically decided, after having been, for reasons completely beyond our what we're doing, gotten shuffled off to a couple of different channels. We've just decided it's probably time for we all love doing what we're doing together, and it's probably time to stick our own label on it and do this as our thing as opposed to somebody else's thing. You tweet out you live.
I do now.
You do now. Yes.
Because we weren't doing anything.
Yeah,
So I
I'm just
didn't.
going to say, yeah. So now we are now live and actually talking about a game, so it's probably a good time to warn people that there's a game on. I think that's reasonable.
But also, since we're recording, I did say this last week, but we came up with the title Lost Worlds Archive because we tell stories about worlds that, well, they're in our imaginations, but in the huge plethora of stories, they are lost until we imagine them. See that? Until they're found. So yeah, the Lost Worlds Archive is a way that we can essentially collect our stories and other stories. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one, although this is the one we're telling right now. And yeah, we can find a way to get them to people like yourselves.
Yeah. So let's do. So I mean, that's the big change, obviously. There's other stuff that will be coming under this branding. And we'll see how it goes. But our first big start is Unlawful Disorder, and that's really cool. So what we're gonna do is really quick is go around. I'll get everyone to do the quick introduction of their character, so we have it preserved, as well as the short version, because the long version will actually be showing up on our YouTube channel of the long version summary. So the short version summary of what's going on, and how it is we've gotten to the point where there's an opera singer and a warbot standing in the middle of it, standing on a list field in the governor's backyard. I think that's probably as obtuse a summary as I can come up with and needs some justification. So you guys are in Glitter Delta Cove, of course. It's night. And let's just start out with Alexandre, Chantal Alexandre. Tell us a bit about Alexandre, and tell us a bit about why it is that you're you're almost as well dressed as an opera singer.
I'm sorry, what? Almost? Did you want to rephrase?
No, actually, I don't. Carry on, though.
Okay. Well, long story short, we left home on a journey, and we are here looking after an opera singer. What has happened? I don't know. It's been a very long week. It's been a really long week. What has happened?
We have been tasked by the Ebonels to
Not all of them, just a few.
Aquidian,
walk by one.
just Aquidian, asked us to look after an ebon elf called Remiki, and to make sure she doesn't get beaten up by someone or kidnapped or killed. Unlikely killed, but maybe an accident. I don't know. We
Sound
were
like
staying.
you're all
at
going to
the-
do it when you say it like that.
I'm just going to.
When you tell me,
One more joke about who's better dressed from Michelle, and maybe.
It was an
Oh no,
accident.
an accident! There is blood all over your dress. It looks awful. I'm so sorry.
You spilled something. It was your blood.
Just like how Alexandria is nobody's second choice, she is never second best. That's not how it works. So
There's something on your face. It was pain.
oh look, there's something right. Oh, so she is an opera singer who I've heard sing, and she is a good singer. She can sing. I'm very happy. And she seems to know how to look after her audience, which is impressive. And we have to get, well, I mean, she's not better dressed than me right now. Because last time I used my presence to make sure everyone was looking at me.
Don't look at her,
So-
look at me.
Yes.
So.
And they did. So
Mhm. Mm.
we don't need to have that discussion anymore. Yes. And we made it there
You did, in fact, make it there. Yes.
safely.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chevalier. Is there anything you would like to expand upon in this discussion?
As we pointed out, we were tasked by Aquidian to keep Remiki safe, or in case her injury caused the Dashamali embarrassment. We met and discussed our plans to get her to the concert.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, Mr. Kilcare was keeping watch outside of the building, and he noticed two groups of note, I guess. One group of four that seemed to be passing by regularly, sometimes changing clothes to be more inconspicuous, but one lamplighter with his donkey who kept returning at regular intervals to relight a lamp that was suspiciously going out. And Mr. Kilcare was able to convince said lamplighter to refrain from reporting that we had left for as long as possible. And then we left left to go to the concert while the other group were away. So while we had suspected that the transit portion would be the most likely attack, We have so far not had any confrontation, though whether that is because they are planning to attack us during the return journey or because we managed to dodge the group is unclear. Hopefully, it is not the third option that they are actually crazy enough to attack during the concert itself.
Yes, that awkward moment when you discover the enemy is crazier than you are. Yeah.
I think the exact thing was like, only a suicidal person would do this, and most people aren't that. And you're like, yeah, cool, okay. Having said that.
Yes, exactly. All right. Yeah, Lucas, what's your take on all of this?
Well, this is a very important job, and I'm taking it very seriously. Currently a bodyguard for the opera singer. Looking very fine in my newly polished armor. I just read a little note that the lamplighter, his name was Charlie Plumpkin. And that gave me much entertainment. Also, he is a lamplighter. The men running past and doing their little switcheroo around the tavern. I do believe that they work at the docks, so there's two separate gangs that are interested, possibly, in taking down this opera singer. So we've got to keep our wits about us, which is a tough thing for me at times to do, but I'm trying my hardest.
Gotcha. I have a question for the esteemed Angwer. Does it seem odd to you that apparently the two largest criminal organizations in the town are both interested in the same person?
I'll admit it, up until now, didn't go noticed at all. So...
Fair enough. Okay, we can carry on then. Hi there, Jasper. What's your take on that statement?
I think we also just need to quickly remind everyone that of the moment where Lucas, in an effort to make sure that our client was not made uncomfortable, tried to convince her that he was going to go to the bathroom, and at which point just went straight to the bar to talk to his brother and then walked back, wiping his hands on his armor, despite the fact that all the three people he'd walked away from could see him the entire time.
Espionage is not the Angwer's strong point. Okay, we can just summarize with that.
It's a bit this is a little bit like a cat, you know, if I fit, I sit. Just what's in front of me.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm sure this is a serious role-playing game. I'm sure of it. It'll happen eventually. So, yeah, I'm Jasper.
Oh, look, mate. I think Dorothy, Tin Man, and the Scarecrow have pretty much covered it, haven't they?
You're pretty okay with all that?
That means you're the lion.
Fierce, innit?
Does make sense.
So yeah. I guess the question I have for you all is, how involved are you going to be in the evening's concert? Are you just going to basically hang out? Are you going to be in the crowd? Are you going to be enjoying the music? Do you have any interest in what it is this woman does for performance?
Do you say that she's set up in like a large, like open garden? She's not like on a stage with rafters or anything?
Well, okay, so if just real, where did I put it? Bloody hell. So if you take a look at the map, basically you guys are in the Gouverneurs residence, right? And the idea here, if you will, and hang on a sec. There we are, and zoom in a bit. I'm actually getting, so it's dark, but obviously that makes it hard to see, so we're just going to put the lights back on. You guys, the concert is actually taking place over in the tourney field. Okay? And
Really a place.
Pardon?
It's a familiar place.
It is indeed. So what's happened, if you will, is that they've taken down the center railing, the tilt rail, and they've replaced that area, which is of course it's it's a relatively round pebble and sand with a little bit of ash mixture, of course, which is easy on the hooves of the horses that are going to go charging up and down that. And what they've done is they've put together a very simple 2-level stage in the round. So she has so it's hexagonal essentially in shape, octagonal, my apologies, 8-sided, and it's the idea is on the bottom tier, if you will. So if you include ground level as the bottom tier, the orchestra is arrayed around that, and then she herself during the concert can easily move between the tier above the orchestra and sort of the top little bit of the top little bit, which is sort of done up almost in a very whimsical cross between a windmill and Rapunzel's tower, I guess is the best way of explaining the aesthetic of it. It's very fantastical looking, and is obviously leveraging a little bit of the love of the locals of bright lights and things like that, because there are all manner of magical bits and bobs of glitter, and there are candles and oil lamps and stuff like that all around the place to bring lighting to it. And very much so and you can see because of course Alexandria has seen where there's the equivalent of a Chinese pinwheel on the matriarch had during the joust. You can see she, I think, will immediately recognize that there's a few of those scattered around the top of the tower. So obviously at some point in time that's going to be a cascade of stars or something like that that's going to happen, right? So it's early evening. It's getting dark, obviously, and the stands on both sides of the list field are filling rapidly. So for lack of a better way of putting it, because you are staff, you can either hang out, you basically can hang out wherever you want. No one is going to, tell an Anguir, and Chevalier that they can't go somewhere, and likewise, no one's going to be able to stop Spider from doing as he pleases. And
fully expect you to say Alexandre just then.
Well,
not wrong.
100%.
I mean, let's be honest, not wrong. Different
Also
reason,
wrong.
but not wrong. So
How big is in terms of I guess width is the performance space that she'll be occupying? Roughly.
Just let me really quickly double check something so I'm sure that I'm not being completely silly here. That is Glitter Delta Cove. Just give me a second. I just want to double check a measurement. So my gut is it's probably it's at least 10-15 meters across, but I just want to double check that. She's a tall girl. Keep in mind that ebon elves tend to be tall by human comparison, and she's tall by her race's standards, right? So, and the clothing she was wearing when she walked into the inn was deliberately done to minimize that, if you will. Absolutely the idea was that, to try and I guess the best way of putting it is, when she walked into the inn, she was trying to not be obviously who she was, because, she had stuff to do, etc. And that wasn't the place to draw attention to herself. And in spite of that, was immediately recognized by a fan, right? So, it's entirely likely that put her on a stage in clothing that that she and someone who knows what they're doing have had a chance to pick, she's going to look a little bit larger than life. Just one sec here. Come on, you stupid computer, hurry up. Faster, gerbil, faster. There we go. How big is that list field is the question. I'm fairly sure the answer is vary, but I just want to double check. And distance. So, turn the grid on, turn grid and snapping off just real fast. So side to side is 37 feet. And then end to end on that is 126. So 37, that's 10, yes, so the whole width of the field of the list field's about 15 meters. So, if you will, basically the stage is essentially the whole width of that field. Does, if that makes sense. So to give you guys an idea, yeah, the stage is basically an octagon that occupies almost the entire width of that space. All right, just to give you an idea.
I was just going to say, I think as much as possible during this thing, like being a personal bodyguard, I wouldn't be up there on stage, but definitely where she would enter the stage and exit the stage, I'd be moving around there to keep an eye on anything strange. Can I see anything that's like
sure.
out of the ordinary?
So just for perspective, oops, make this go away so it's not blotting up the artwork. So this is actually this tent up here. I mean, just for perspective, so that tent is damn near 8 meters across. It's not insubstantial. The bleachers are fairly large as well. If you go on the idea that that's, I think I'd said, there to there is about 15, almost 20 meters wide. It kind of gives you a scale for everything else. And so what's happened is with the center railing removed, a temporary, a smaller version of this has been set up there with a little guided walkway that leads up to the stage area with a little set of stairs that goes up. So that is the obvious to from. And that would be sort of the ideal place, I think, for Lucas to be the gentleman escort in shining armor to get her up onto the stage, if you will. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right.
Doing a sort of had a moment of like, because when you were like, oh, it's about this many meters, and I was just like, does Open Legend use meters or feet? So I'm just trying to do the conversions in my head just to sort of
So well, that's just it.
In terms of the thinking of Chevalier being like, all right, if something happens while she's on stage, I can cover this much ground.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the reason. Like, because we're all Commonwealth countries, I know that our mental base math tends to be done in meters. But because the system is, as far as I know, written in American, it's all the measurements are in feet, and so I tend to do both sets of numbers. And if you guys, my Sunday night game for D&D, we're all folks my age or older, and so for us, our native language, if you will, in Canada, we're all old enough that the original system we got taught was the imperial system. And then when we're all 6, 7, 8 years old, Canada switched to metric. So mentally, our native language, if you will, is actually inches and feet. So we're always doing the math in the back of our heads. So when we're gaming, we just do everything in inches and feet. But with my son's group, they're all in their 20s. If I say feet, they just look at me blankly. They have no barking clue how big a foot is. If I say meter or third of a meter, they know immediately.
I was taught both, because the first 2 years or so of like of school where they started teaching us measurement, it was imperial, and then it switched to metric after that.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay either way, because I have absolutely, literally no concept of the size you're talking about. So it doesn't matter for me. Literally none of this registers as something that I conceptually understand.
So the short version
I collected Warhammer 40,000 in high school, so I've got a rough idea of how, like,
I mean,
inches and whatnot.
So interestingly enough for you, Chantel, you're 5'2", I believe, if I recall correctly. So
I am.
You are
5'2.5".
I completely understand. So the short version is, excuse the pun,
tell.
you are 1.5 meters, almost exactly. And so if you can, it's actually, interestingly enough, a very convenient measure, because that is also coincidentally about the standard size of any standard distance in D&D, 5 feet. So use your own height as a reference.
Down.
Yeah, so just use your own height as a reference point for most measurements in D&D.
Now,
Going
if everyone
forward,
can
the
imagine what I'm imagining,
official
where I just
measurement
roll
for
around.
Lost Worlds Archive will be a Chantel.
That is now.
Yeah.
I'm about
Now a
4
measurement.
Chantels away.
I understand that measurement.
When it's
funny,
difficult
but-
terrain, it's only half as many Chantel.
Takes twice as many Chantels.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say,
Okay.
imagine Chantel being difficult about something, and now you know why you're moving much more slowly.
I want to say I'm attacked, but it's also accurate.
A funny joke. My roommate is a blacksmith, and one of the first things you learn, because of course, oddly enough, if you put a wooden ruler on a piece of molten metal, the wooden ruler explodes. And so you get it catches fire and shit like that. Very, very awkward when you're trying to take measurements. So you get used to, as a blacksmith, knowing this distance, that distance, and so you can use your own hand because you're usually wearing a glove of some kind when you're working. You get used to knowing the thickness of your thumb, the span of your hand, and doing all of your measurements literally just by, hands, widths, and all those things. So it's very amusing because when he and I are doing carpentry stuff, he's within 5% just by using, just some arbitrary wave of 3 fingers and a pinky kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, I'm sitting here with a ruler staring intently. He says, "Oh, it's about this much." Yeah, you're within 10%. I mean, that's the cut error on the saw blade, right? I mean, okay, sure.
I got that from playing Warhammer because it was like roughly that.
Yeah.
Like there to there. I was like, that's roughly like what a unit can move.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it's like, can that unit charge me? Yeah, probably. Okay.
This might be a reflection on how tired I am, but I still imagined using fingers and touching the hot metal. And I'm like, surely that would hurt.
It would if you weren't wearing a glove, yes. And that's the, have a good hunk of leather helps.
The testament to how tired I am, hot metal plus wooden ruler go boom is the note that I've written.
And I've now worked out how we're going to save this girl.
Yeah, it's like, I'll come back. Don't you worry. That's
Yeah,
gonna
we need hot metal and a ruler.
come back
Get
in
me
like
a ruler.
I'm just going to
Hot
say
metal.
this is starting to sound like Hudson Hawk, and I'm not sure if I'm here for that at this hour of the day. I mean,
Master plan. Hang on, are we
In
the bad
terms of
guys? Is
where-
that
yes, we had this conversation earlier. Are you the baddies?
Bad guys.
in terms of where like Chevalier's going to
Be
place
acting
himself.
as if they've forgotten they're the villains. Yes, they are the villains.
He'll essentially want to be close enough to like the perimeter of the stage that he doesn't want to, because he is a little obvious. He doesn't want to be sort of like disturbing the performance to the best of his ability.
Mm-hmm.
But he also wants to be like, should something happens, should something go down, he is able to put his 7-foot robotic frame between the thing and the singer.
So I think at some point, so you guys are going to get, so you guys have led Ramiki, up into this area. She's at her dressing tent. At some point, she's going to dart out. As anyone who has done theater understands, once you've worked on stage enough, anybody who spent enough on stage starts to forget what they look like if there's work to be done. And so at some point in time, I suspect Lucas is going to be pretty much pink because Ramiki's not an unattractive woman, and she's going to dart out basically wearing the equivalent of her of most of her underwear, holding something up and taking a quick look around at something, pointing at 3 people, pointing at Chevalier, doing this. Someone's going to come over, she's going to pass them a piece of paper, and then she's going to dart back into her dressing room to keep getting ready for the show.
Yeah,
You're going to see the 3 of them cluster
Lucas
around. Lucas
has no idea what a theater world is.
Exactly. So all you know, this incredibly half-dressed woman was just gesticulating wildly and then darted back into her tent.
I'm gonna go in and see if she needs help.
Alexandri's going to stop that.
I feel like there's at least
Clearly,
should be able to just be like,
surely she needs help putting something on. Like she
She will be fine. She will be fine.
If
So
she
yelling
does,
at
it's
people.
not your job.
I know it's not, but like
So I think there's
Here.
going to be a cut scene where it's the camera is, if you will, looking past the three of them who were just being gesticulated at, and they're all in the process of looking from the piece of paper towards Chevalier, back to the piece of paper, and then somebody pulls out straws and they draw straws. And then one guy goes and starts walking over towards Chevalier. And as luck would have it, this fellow is about Chantel's is about Chantel's height. So squarely,
Chantel
and
tall.
not Alexandre, but Chantel. So it's literally he's not quite up. Well, no, he's nowhere near Chevalier's shoulder, looking up, going, excuse me, sir. Is sir the right word?
I suppose so. Hello.
He's not quite holding up a sign marked "Please don't kill me," but that's certainly the body language. I guess, you know.
It is okay. Take a breath.
The mistress has had a fantastic idea. Apparently, you are somewhat noticeable, he says, looking for reassurance. And she feels that it is going to be absolutely impossible to not have you, well, noticeable if you're patrolling back and forth as you're currently doing. And so she thinks that possibly the best plan is, and he shoves the piece of paper at you.
Oh, you have a note.
You can tell
I
he's
take the note.
You can
Somewhat...
sort of tell that the idea is he's supposed to be trying to convince you and has just decided, read, please, read.
Yeah, I take the note, trying, trying, yeah, I guess like actively trying not to take it too quickly, like trying to like avoid sudden movements around the clearly skittish stagehand.
I mean,
yeah, I read the note.
okay, so it's essentially what happens if an opera major, a stage manager, and someone with and someone with an art disorder try to do a sketch of what Chevalier would look like while carrying a Christmas tree. You get the impression that what they were trying to describe was something involving Chevalier carrying a whole lot of lights around that would be sparkling at some point. Apparently, Remiki has decided you're now part of the show. Because it's going to be absolutely... as, well, you're 7 feet tall. You're literally taller than the front of the stage. So, everyone, and you're very large and gleaming and whitish, and so basically it's either paint you pink, or drop a haystack on you, or just say, well, I can't help but notice there's a warbot walking back and forth in front of the stage. Have him carry a prop. This seems to be the essence of the cunning plan.
What kind of lights do they have? What are they using for light?
So after I suspect there's the good news is you're wearing a kabuki mask. So even if you do have a certain level of skepticism about this, the stagehand can't tell. The problem is, from the stagehand's perspective, he also can't tell if any of this is okay, or if he should be filling out a next of kin form. So there's
yeah, he sort of looks at this, and he says, he goes back and goes, I assume if I am reading this correctly, you think it would be
No, I don't think. I was told to give you the note.
Sure. Our diva feels it would be
He's
less
desperately trying not to laugh at this point.
it would be it would be less disruptive if I was on stage and somehow done up to make it look like this was the intention all along.
Well, actually, so there's a gap between the back of the orchestra and the foot of the stage. So her thought, as far as I can understand, because I don't know who draw that, they clearly have an art disorder of some kind. I think the idea was actually to have you in front of the orchestra, just going back and forth, because you got both sides, right? And she's going to be walking back and forth, right, around the stage, because there's two sides, because it's theater in the round. And so I think, he says, the idea is that we've got a couple of props that originally we were going to have a couple of just the crew just running back and forth with, but since you're going to be out there anyway, I think the idea is to just have you do that bit, because then it looks like that's what you're there for.
You'd also be in the best position to defend her.
It is a very good idea. Show me these props and I will see what I can do.
Sure, come this way. There's literally a couple of people peeking up from behind a water barrel going, oh, he's not dead yet, cool.
Lowest kill count in...
Please stop saying that publicly.
If we only count sentient humanoids, it's 0.
Alexandria has the highest, right?
I don't think I do.
I was just going to say,
it's
it
Spider.
depends what you mean by kill count. If you mean actually stopped breathing, it's Alexandria. If you mean knocked down in battle, it's Spider.
Oh, I definitely mean
No,
in
who's
terms
the most
of
dangerous one?
left, made to be dead.
Made to be dead, that is definitely Alexandria.
If it was, in terms of made to be unable to continue fighting, that's a different number.
Yes.
I have the highest torture count. Like, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. They can't fight anymore, nor can they walk. Or
Look, Alexandria has maybe the highest kill count, but she also has the highest healing count. So
she's the only one who can heal.
I'm the only.
I can heal.
Well, I mean, when you can also heal, then you can have a healing count.
I'm sorry. I spent
It's
a lot
not
of
that
time
far
healing
off.
lizard folk once after that fight. I also can
Look, that's a medical point, not a healing point. I'm being specific so that I win.
I don't know what you think medicine is, if it's not healing.
I'm talking about magical healing.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Isn't
So
science magical?
what basically they have is a variety. Basically they've got a different bit of sparkly stuff, if you will. Everything from the equivalent of a kite trailing Chinese pinwheels behind it, to a sailboat with sparklers and chem lights on it, to something that's you're not even sure really what they were trying to go for, but it's covered in tinsel. But just there's all these various like I say, it's all stuff that's either designed to reflect light or shed light directly. And most of it, quite honestly, would take about 2 people to pick up. These are not small pieces. So oddly enough, Chevalier, because of his size and strength, because okay, that's unwieldy, but it's not a problem, right?
Is it literally like just 2, like you hold it like 2 people, like 2 like poles, I guess, or something like that?
It's either 2 poles or it's a square frame with something on the front of it. It's obviously this other side towards audience. Most of these things clearly have an other side towards audience to them aspect, right? So it sort of, I've been sort of joking all along about the idea that, Chevalier's got a kabuki mask on, but very much in the way that kabuki theater is done, where everyone tacitly ignores the puppeteer in the background. Implicitly, the idea is everyone ignore the large warforged carrying the prop around.
Well, it's kind of like where like the modern view of ninjas came from stagehands.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Because no one paid attention to them, so someone had the bright idea of using that for dramatic effect.
Yes.
Shout out to all the stage managers out there. You're legend.
We appreciate you.
Yup, it ain't easy.
So what
Keep
I'm
us
thinking,
alive,
like if he's
literally.
looking at a thing which is like, would normally be carried by two things. I think he sort of picks. He's like, this is what the thing. And he's sort of getting the description of what he needs to do, and then he kind of picks it up and he just lifts it over his head.
Yeah.
And puts the two things like onto his like not his shoulders, because he's got like a kind of that big sort of backpack esque shoulder guard thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of just, as he puts it in, it kind of just like sinks into it.
Mm-hmm.
And like what would appear, it's not metal. It's I think I usually describe it as more of like a porcelain in appearance. But it just sort of opens up. The thing sinks down to a point and then just closes over it again. And he's sort of like this. It just has it like a standard on his.
I'm just getting. There's just going to be an awful lot of. Yeah, works fine. Like, what do you say to someone when they do that? I mean, no, you did that wrong. No, they're taking. I mean,
it just sort of starts like just rotating like at the
so
more than just to get used to sort of the difference in like balance, I guess.
Sure. What's Jasper going to be up to in the meantime?
Question. I think so. The audience. Where would the audience? In the round, is it all four sides, or
so
it's
actually? So do you see? If you take a look at the map, you see that there's the bleacher. If you can imagine, looking at it as it is as a list field, everyone is seated. There's the two covered areas, and then there's just the regular benches. That none of that's changed. All of that's there. The difference is that the south extent is those benches have been brought inwards to close off the south end of the list field.
I see. Right.
So you've got the covered area is where it is, and there's a lot, and that's where all the expensive people will be sitting, right? And then the north bit is sort of backstage. It's not really theater in the round; it's more like theater in the U.
Yeah. It's like a promontory.
And then so they've closed. Yeah, it's like using the bottom half of a stadium, and they use with the far end of the stadium for backstage and everything else. So the bit, but from her perspective, her stage is octagonal. She can walk around it the whole way. It's just that the bit to the north is where the ramp where she walks on and off are.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you, Chantal. We desperately needed that. Yeah. So what? So what's he up to?
I think Spider is like blending into the crowd, but on one of the like higher tiers of the raked seating, so that he can get a good view of all the rest of the audience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And keeping an eye out for any suspicious characters or unusual activity.
Sure thing. So the crowd's going to be starting to file in already. There's always that element of the for lack of a better way of putting it, the poor folks, the less advantaged folks are going to be showing up a little bit earlier than everybody else because the folks with the folks who are of apparently higher status, in spite of the fact that this is a meritocracy, have sort of got their own, haven't quite got their own entrance, but the access areas to the area for the spits that are under the canopy, they literally have got, there's a spot to come into from the east and a spot you can come into from the west, whereas everybody else heading for the bleachers has sort of got to go and file their way around from the entrance from the south. So you can basically, and again, because you're sort of staff, you can almost sit anywhere that Jasper would want. I mean, he could be sitting in he could be sitting in the expensive neighborhood if he likes.
No, I think it makes more sense to be mixed in with those not sitting on a cushion. To try and just have like the best vantage point on everything going on.
Yeah, sure.
But also like somewhere where he could conveniently scale down the back of the
If he suddenly needed to be on
speeding,
the
if he
move,
needed to,
yeah.
if he needed to move quickly and get out.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Alrighty, we're gonna take
I kind of imagine we all have got like black shirts on that say crew.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Oh, I haven't
Like,
actually said where
Lucas
Alexandra
does.
is.
Lucas does, and
Civilian,
no one
definitely
knows
not.
how he got it.
Yes, I'm just kidding.
No one else is wearing one.
I'm just kidding.
Not even the
are
crew.
wearing one, but Lucas has got a crew shirt. Yeah.
Crew,
The crew
like,
aren't
the
wearing
crew
them.
aren't even wearing them. Like, where did we?
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. I just noticed someone's a couple folks saying that they need refills and empties. So we'll be right back in a couple of minutes, and then we'll
We need
talk
to
about
pee.
yes, and we'll talk about where Alexandria fits into all of this and how the show goes, because that's actually of importance. So we'll be right back. Oh, excellent question. Okay, that's really funny. We don't actually have an intermission button, believe it or not.
Oh, we'll just turn it off.
I'm just gonna say, yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, so I'm just gonna put the map view up, and we'll just leave that there for now, and we'll be back in a few moments. Sorry, folks.
Let's do
Save the
it.
opera
We're doing
singers.
it, so the microphones are back on for those of you who are singing happy songs. So here we are.
Hello.
Yeah.
So for those of you lacking context, it's 10 o'clock in the morning my time, and it's what, midnight for you folks?
It is
No,
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Okay, we're 1 a.m. Yeah. So yeah.
Midnight for me. The others have to deal with daylight savings.
Right.
It's 1 a.m. and I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm having a great day. I haven't had a nap.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been to sleep. I've had 2 coffees. I'm having a great time. Now 1.
I was just gonna say, so what's what brand is it, or what vineyard have you got there?
Oh, this is a Grenache.
Okay.
Pure Grenache. If
Mhm.
you haven't tried it, the blends are lovely, but try the pure. It's really lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a red.
It'll
wine
surprise you.
I'm not much of a red wine fan, but my sweetheart absolutely is. So I'm always looking for good red wines to surprise her with. So,
It is. I'm a fan. I'm more of a fan of white wines, but it is. If you are a singer or a vocalist and you decide after a musical, knowing that you have 2 more shows the next day, if you happen to want to sing the next day and have a voice, but also want to have fun that night, Grenache will keep your voice relatively okay, such that you can get away with using it the next day.
gotcha.
So,
All
which white wine will not let you do.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Gotcha.
Really like
Red
that.
wine will give me more of a
best
chance than white
choice.
wine will. So that's why it happens.
I really like.
There is
just-
no chance. And
just-
champagne,
No, yeah, I mean, you should be drinking spirits.
yes, spirits or nothing. Realistically, just some water or some pineapple juice. Pineapple juice in the morning. These are all the things that we know because voiceover
Mhm.
and singing.
The old
It's a
school,
fun
old
conversation,
school
like out of
actor.
context.
I'm just gonna say, yeah. The
Oh,
problem,
spirits or nothing.
yeah, the problem I have, of course, is that pineapple tends to taste pretty much like pineapple, and that's just a non-starter for me. I mean,
Helpful thing is that pineapple eats you while you eat it. So if you have caused some kind of mild vocal damage by yelling whilst drunk, it will help strip the dead skin away from your throat.
Mm.
That's why pineapple is helpful.
that is,
Yeah, it also,
that is
it also
vaguely
eats through
horrifying.
any.
Acid.
Yeah,
Yeah, it eats through any extra phlegm that's being created as well.
Dissolves the part
Yeah.
of you that you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
That is vaguely horrifying. I think I'm going to write
It's
it.
Don't-
I think I'm
don't
literally going to
overdo it
have
on
to
pineapple, I have been-
include a scene where the hero or heroine is threatened by being suspended headfirst into a vat of pineapple juice. It's just going to digest
Oh,
you.
But actually, people that work with pineapples, like work in pineapple, like factories that have pineapples, have to wear gloves or else their fingerprints get dissolved. Like it's actually a thing. So
Oh my gosh!
I'm
It's
so
so-
excited to see this in a fantasy world.
I'm just
You
going
know,
to say,
this is actually how you deal with gelatinous cubes. Is you just throw pineapple at them.
Yeah, you pour pineapple on them and
I'm just
everything's
gonna
fine.
say I've always joked that I'm dubious about anyone who uses anything found under the Geneva Conventions as a condiment. And I think at this point you've made a very strong argument for pineapples to be listed under the Geneva Conventions.
I quite like So great mustache is kind of a comedy that's a mini gelatinous cube, but I also kind of like the idea of in like a sort of D&D fantasy place that you have almost the back. Someone actually like breeds like tiny little like mild gelatinous cubes that just like, oh, you've got a throat thing here, swallow this, and it will strip everything. But then it's not so it's too weak that once it gets to your stomach, you win. And you get like 5 experience. It's fantastic.
But it also gets rid of any adventurers inside you.
Yeah.
That came out not how I intended.
I think
That's
we're done today,
right.
folks.
If
Good
they
thing we'll
use
talk to you
their
later.
shrink ray,
And
Why did you swallow a gelatinous cube? They're adventurers.
you either have to cast reduce or enlarge or both at the same time.
Just take a bite out of a big one.
I mean,
Might go wrong.
I suppose it can't really harm if
right
you
then,
pass it as
quality
well.
entertainment.
Okay. So Alexandria is
Yes, Alexandria. Let's get back to something sane and talk about Alexandria. I'm not sure this is an improvement.
Oi! You know what? You're getting... Mate, you've earned yourself a muting.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought.
the game gets really dull if you meet the GM. I'm just saying.
Look,
One way to find out.
I am in charge. Alexandria is watching Ramiki. Everything that Ramiki does, Alexandria is watching.
Mhm.
And she is watching because she wants to know whether or not Ramiki is using magic
Oh, she
to do
absolutely
anything
is.
that she's doing.
I was just
Okay.
like she literally has a staff sorcerer. There's just no
Right.
like her special she literally has a major domo of special effects who just straight up has got creation as a
That's-
he's essentially he's a professional, he's a theater illusionist.
That's so cheaty. Like, do your quick changes manually. Come on.
No, I'm just going to say no. I mean, like she's got a ton of really fancy clothes back here, right? And there's an awful lot. And if you thought Ebon Elves were penchant for either drama or flightiness based on your long weekend at Equidians. I was about to say your long weekend at Bernie's, but your long weekend at Equidians, this pretty much takes the cake. Imagine every bad theater trope you've ever seen, only now done by Ebon Elves. So there's
no.
Ramiki is basically has a rotating cloud of about a half dozen people who are just literally darting to and fro, and this needs to be checked and that needs to be approved, and she's getting dressed while giving orders in 2 different languages, and oh, by the way, the tuba player's late, and well, just fire him and get a new one, and just blah blah, just this constant stream. She is both simultaneously the diva, the business manager, and the slightly stage frighty little girl. Like you're getting like literally at one point in time, one of her assistants says you can't take the crossbow with you. Just fine. Here, just set it over there then. Like she subconsciously was in the process of trying to figure out how to get the little holdout crossbow to fit into in with an evening gown, right? It's like no, you cannot take that out on stage. Put that back over here. That's for your walk to and from, etc., etc. So, it's this is a classic example of what I call Clark tech. Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke's famous comment that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So there's a bunch of stuff which is being done practically. She has she's got a dozen different outfits back here. Each of them clearly with a song in mind, for lack of a better way of putting it. At the same, and she's got a bunch of people who literally their job is to run around and make things catch fire, and so they're coordinating the equivalent of the lighting script. But then she's also got 2 illusionists who are arguing with the guy whose job to run around and set things on fire. That no, you can't do that until the cockatrice flies by.
Have they already created those things?
Well, they're in the process of arguing about it, is the better way of putting it. You get the impression that she does a show. It's not that it's opening night. They haven't worked together before.
Right. Yeah. Oh no. Yep. Okay.
And so there's an awful lot of, but I thought it meant this. No, you lout. It clearly means that. Oh no, it doesn't. Etc. Etc. And so there's an awful lot of, like I say, the usual backstage drama on opening night. It's just that instead of being scattered out over the entire production, it's all happening around Ramiki.
Yeah. Does she look afraid?
I think stressed is the best answer. Like, you can clearly see that what she really wants to do is be out on stage. Like, the faster she gets out there, the faster, the better her day's going to go. But because she's also an absolute control freak, i.e. she doesn't have a business manager, she also then gets stuck with the job of doing all the stuff that should have been probably done by 2 other people.
And is there anyone here that looks like they're not actually doing anything? By which I mean, like, outside of the theatrical version of they look like they're not doing something, they're actually just waiting to do something, it just hasn't happened yet. Like, as in someone that doesn't belong in this space.
I'll tell you what, I think it's a fascinating question, and because under normal condition I just skip the roll on this, but I think because this is not really it's Chantel's space, but it absolutely isn't Alexandre's space. I think I'm actually going to ask you to roll 2 things. The first one I'm going to ask
from a that I suppose that is a question then. Is how close is this, like the sort of fundamentals, to watching, say, Gromera or Maman get ready to?
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask. I was actually going to ask you to roll learning first.
Ah, right.
So, yes, because I think she's going to see some parallels to the chaos before any big social event, particularly any of the ones that Gromera ran, because Gromera ensured that, her son and therefore his wife knew how this stuff worked flawlessly. But for Gromera, there was always that air of heady panic about it, because after all of those years, she was still sort of making it up as she went along, right? It wasn't just naturally something. This is not the world she was born to, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, let's just roll learning and tell me where you go.
I did a whole lot of things and then it landed on a 3, so that's 5. Like, it went on a journey.
Yeah, I think,
and then decided
I think. Okay, and then so I'll ask you to make a perception roll, if you would.
Perception. Okay. It's been a while. 9. She does not perceive.
I think the short version is you're so busy ogling the dress selection that you're missing the details.
Yeah. Just thinking, that would be interesting if blood got on it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that. I think she's more thinking, like, I wonder if there are any loose threads, because then I can judge that.
I think what's sort of getting
a costume artificer is really good.
I mean, do I hire that? Yeah, do I hire her? Okay, so
wait a minute.
Just playing into that. What's
that.
the fashion like?
Wait a minute. I recognize that. That's the same guy that did Chevalier stuff.
I know. Then I know he's good. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
So yeah. So there is literally a small fortune in costumes back here. And I think part of it's basically almost, there's still probably 45 minutes to showtime, to give everyone a chance to get their seats, to give the hawkers a chance to do the first walk through the crowds and sell whatever it is they're selling into snacks, drinks, blah blah. And so Rumiki is systematically doing a costume check, going through every dress one after the other, going, okay, so and then chatting with one of the illusionists. Literally their job is to, in some cases, have her, have it look like, at one point that, she literally sprout the dragon pattern off the side of her ensemble leaps into the air above her. So he's got two problems simultaneously. One is making the dragon disappear off the dress, and then two is creating the illusion of the dragon above her. Right? And it's like, you can't ask someone to do that. Well, you said you could, so shut up and figure it out. We're about to go on stage. It just... I don't care that you didn't read the stage discussion. I said very clearly what it was I wanted.
Alexandri's getting so disillusioned now. Like, when you see what's going on backstage, it's like I thought you were really good when I saw you performing in Shining Capital, and now here you are, and it's all kind of distraction. So like, are you actually that good a singer? I don't know anymore.
Yes. So Alexandria is going to wind up at one point, inexplicably, very possibly, suddenly having the entire room staring at her, as entirely imperiously, Rumiki says something to her in Ebon Elf, and is clearly expecting an answer. Now, like I say, Ebon Elf and High Elven are kind of like saying Londoner and Texan. Technically, it's all English.
Répétez, s'il vous plaît.
And then there's the entire detail where technically for you it's a second language. Because, so there's, and she, sorry. Just, what do you think? And there's going to be, which is which, yes, exactly. So there's going to be this long, suddenly Alexandri is going to be the fashion consultant for a moment about whether or not the particular feathers on the illusionary peacock, which would be strutting by in front of this particular outfit, is going to be this particular shade of ultraviolet, or perhaps should it be a deeper blue than that?
A deeper blue. And then I would like to create my own peacock.
Let's see the roll, girl.
Let's hope it works. That would be embarrassing.
Oh god, are you going to create something that wishes to die if you fail? Like,
Are you just so we're clear, you're peacocking with a peacock.
Traditionally, the feathers come out of the other end of the peacock, dear.
22.
A 22. So there's going to be this okay, that is a heroic outcome, if you will. A 20 is a heroic. You're halfway to epic. So there's going to be this remarkable moment where everything grinds to a halt in the dressing room as this absolutely spot-on, color-perfect peacock goes strutting by, and everyone kind of long pause. The two illusionists are suddenly studying their boots. Rumiki eye rolls and says, if she can get it that easily, what's wrong with you?
So just quietly, that blue is also the same color blue as her dress. So the aim here is to just gently make it so that Rumiki's costumes look well suited to what she's wearing.
Fair enough. I think
I'm pretty sure the original word was better. And then
I think that's funny, so I'm not going to ask you to roll deception. I think that's funny.
She's not trying to deceive anyone. It's the same royal blue as the blue she's wearing.
So, so it's showtime. The show is going to go for the better part of 2 and a bit hours with a intermission in the middle. The first bit is I think this is interesting. So I'm actually going to do this as an open roll because there is a reason it might not go well. So just give me a moment here. I'm going to press that button and let's see. What
Open roll. Open roll.
Absolutely. And I will need that one.
Roll for assassination attempt. No, Great Mustache, don't say that.
So what have we got?
So that is a power.
This whole time that this whole amazing getting ready, I think Lucas is just confounded by the fact, or the question is this what it's normally like for Alexandria in the morning?
So
Yes.
So that's an open end, and then that is another. So she's rolling with advantage too because she's done a ton of preparation. So all total, she's sitting at a 28 on the first hour's performance. This is some.
The answer is yes. She can sing. There's also a lot of pomp.
Yes. The job. All of the setup, if you will, is to generate advantage. It is the stuff that goes on invisibly so that when the crowd sees it without seeing everything Alexandria got to see, the jaws are collectively on the floor while their ears are reaching for heaven. Right. I think anybody who hasn't had a chance to see this woman perform before is probably going to be just straight up blown away. The songs, the first set is spectacularly good. The visuals, the use of magic, the use of practical effects, if you will, the songs themselves, all of it stitches together to create this remarkably seamless panorama that is a love story. It is the story of two young lovers who just star-crossed from start to finish. And at the end of the first set, she leaves the audience with a cliffhanger, leaving their fate in this epic story, which is being woven through both song and visual, completely undefined. And then, of course, from Alexander's perspective, the chaos resumes. During I'm actually going to, as silly as it sounds, just because I'm curious, I want to go around and ask anyone if they want to make a saving throw. This is going to be a really odd question, and the context is do you want to dive in on this? She is actively using magic to manipulate the audience. Do you want to get swept up in it, or don't you? And if you say no, you don't want to, you succeed automatically. She's not using magic in a negative way, but the whole experience kind of digs into you. And so what I want to know is, how caught up do you want to be? There's an hour. You guys have been through literal hell in some cases over the past few weeks. This is, and you've had a weekend of abject hedonism. Fantastic. But I don't know how much emotional relief that you guys have gotten. Do you guys want to get swept along in this magical story of two star-crossed lovers? Or are you just busy being bodyguards? Or are you somewhere in between?
I don't think Chevalier would.
No, all the maps. Sorry, Great Mustache. I just saw your question.
Oh,
all the maps.
It's he means the one under your dice.
Actually, I don't know where that map comes from. It's actually on the back of the scroll case. That it's actually a dice carrier, and that's just the print that's on the back of it. I actually don't know who did that map. Yeah, sorry, got distracted by the chat. My apologies.
Sorry.
So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't think Chevalier would. I think, given his background and his experience and just who he is.
Mm-hmm.
like, I think he stays on task.
Okay. Is it because
Much
he
as
can't?
I, as Sam, is kind of just like,
I'm just
like
gonna
that
say,
sounds like kind of.
is it because he can't, or is it because he won't?
I think it's more because he kind of he sort of can get in. He's sort of is that task focused sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, going to elaborate balls and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
where his role is to watch a person and make sure that nothing happens to them,
Right.
is something he's done like a fair bit.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's sort of like, so it's sort of and it was sort of, while there was a lot of like hardship and stuff like that, I think like Chevalier had already had time to sort of deal with some of the harder parts of like the last few hours. So he's not in that, he doesn't have that sort of like pent up need for like, oh, I need this, like a break from this, because he's kind of had that, he's already had time to sort of decompress on his own a little bit.
Sure.
So I think he's like, impressed on a technical level, but just sort of like is still in that mindset of like here to do a job.
Gotcha. Where's Jasper fit in all this?
It's really complicated, actually, because I think, without knowing why, Jasper feels incredibly uncomfortable. Because this kind of story is like absolutely the wrong kind of story to draw his attention.
Yes.
And yet the magic is manipulating his brain to do so. And so I think like Jasper feels like he's like incredibly anxious, like on the edge of nauseous throughout the entire performance, and is trying to do his job but keeps getting distracted by the show that he has no interest in.
Right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Alexandre, where's Alexandre with all this? Having seen the chaos behind, and then the result, very much in the way that you got to see, behind the scenes with your mum or grand-mère organizing for these big social events, and then everything running like a well-oiled machine, and everyone, the invariable idiot in the crowd who says, "You make this look so easy," right? Where's Alexandre in all this?
Alexandre is maintaining that peacock. It's just running circles, like it's doing circles. So she's just asked it to fly around and perceive, because it can perceive better than she can. So that's what's happening there. But I think she's sort of in this halfway realm of wanting to know technically what's happening and how Ramiki's doing things and what's happening, because this is one of the first times she's seeing someone use magic in this way. And that's something that she can learn from or learn about.
Yes.
Especially since there's music involved, and that's interesting to her. So from a technical perspective, that's what she wants, but there's also a story going on, and it's easy to get swept up and caught up. So she's sort of flipping back and forth, like the focus, it's like a pull focus every now and then. Where she's like, oh, this part of the story is amazing, and I'm really loving this music and how the notes are sort of hitting each other, and oh, that's so discordant. And then she sort of goes into it and she's just in it, and then she jumps back out and she's looking at it, and it's that happening.
Yep. All right. And Lucas, where's Lucas with all of this?
Well, I think at first Lucas is like, I've got a job to do. This is it. Like, gotta stick. But it's like, yeah, I think it's like, when you're really, really tired and you try to stay up, but eventually you just fall asleep. I think he's really diligent, but it's too much. He's just like, yeah, this is amazing. It's just like, what job? No, this is way more important than the job.
Yeah.
Watching.
Okay. Yeah.
Like at first, definitely, he was like Chevalier, this is the job I've been given to do. I will do it, and I've been trained. And he would use everything in his power to be the best soldier, to be the best bodyguard. But I think the story, he's whatever this romantic love story, this Romeo and Juliet story that is being told, I think is something that he's probably only ever been told by in like, I don't know, I feel like it's I was talking to a friend today about The Hobbit, and how like that's something like we all have our own personal connection to the first time we encounter J.R. Tolkien. So like I feel like this would be something like it would just tap into that for him.
So I've got, since Lucas is I guess the most fully involved in the story. Just a question. These are star-crossed lovers. Fate pulls them one way, they want to go the other. What's the right answer? Do they get together, or do they do the right thing for them, or do they do the right thing for everybody else? What do you think the answer should be?
What do I think the answer should be?
What does Lucas think the answer should be?
Lucas would want them, they make themselves happy.
So do what's right for them, not what's right for everybody else. Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right. So there is going to be the ensuing chaos of the intermission. I think that's probably almost going to be a rude shock, possibly for Lucas, and even a little bit for Jasper. The hawkers being very brash, fruit juices. Oh yes, we had a flip around. Okay, yeah, the boys are back in the right order. Excellent.
I think it's more of a relief for Jasper that it's like, oh, like, good, I can focus again.
Mm-hmm. So the hawkers being very brash about fruit juices and wines and meads and whatever, and sparklers and snacks and souvenirs and all of the things. But again, it's this very raucous, very busy, it's under the stars, it is full darkness, there's a glitter in the air over the city. You've got all of these amazing outfits of particularly in as Jasper puts it, the folks sitting on cushions. Everyone is turned out for what is supposed to be the cultural event of the month, if not the season. She's never performed out this far from Capital before. Oh my gosh, etc., etc. All of this, and so there's going to be, I think, a lot of energy in the air for the 20-odd minutes of the intermission. And I think I'm going to actually ask all of you to... I need a roll, and I'll ask you to tell me which one you're most interested in. A perception roll, or a perception roll, a logic roll, or perception, logic, or I'm actually going to offer you, for just because of the circumstances, prescience. I don't care which one you roll, I just want a good excuse why. And then I'll tell you what comes of it. There's something, I think Lucas and Alexandre are going to be very aware of the presence of the song at one point during the intermission. I think Jasper's, spider sense at one moment is going to go, wait a minute. And I think Chevalier is just going to notice a particular tension amongst some of the folk running back and forth. But what I want to know is, with that scene setting, I don't want you to feel like you have to roll insight, or you tell me what roll you want to make, and then based on the roll you choose, I'll tell you what information comes of it. But there's going to be sort of, I think, this collective moment where you all go, huh. So, who wants to lead off the roll?
I think it makes most sense for me to roll perception. It's very much like.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to work out if there's like a way in which to angle persuasion, which is the same dice roll as like reading the crowd.
No, it's literally the inversion. Yeah, it would be perception. It would be perception.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like the part of persuasion which is prying information, but it's the same dice roll for me anyway.
And the other, actually, I said prescience, but I think protection would also go under extraordinaries. So yeah, I'd be okay with either prescience or protection, either of those as well.
25.
Wow, fantastic roll.
Yeah, I open-ended my D8.
Gorgeous. All right, so just hang on to that for a moment. Who wants to roll next?
I'll go.
Sure.
I'm going to use prescience because by this point we're halfway through, and Alexandria kind of knows what's going to happen at this point. She knows what the flurry is going to be, and she's kind of thinking she'll just pay attention to the actual performance for the second half. But she knows something could happen, so she's sort of tapping into the song and going, hey, something's supposed to happen.
Do you see what I see? Yeah, sure. No, I'm okay with that. Sure.
Yeah.
So, prescience, what do you come up with?
8.
8. All right. Who wants to roll next?
Did you... Sorry, in that list of options, did you mention protection?
Yes, I did mention protection as one. So your mental attribute options are perception or logic, and then your extraordinary options are prescience and protection.
All right. So I've already rolled the D20. I just wanted to know what the additional one was, though I don't think it's going to matter too much. But we'll do protection.
Okay.
Okay. That's 39.
Oof. All right.
It wouldn't matter much because the D20 exploded. And I was just like,
can I have half of that? Can we share?
I'll take donations.
Can we share?
Lucas.
I was like, I don't know which.
You're up. Rolling.
I think it would come down to either prescience or protection. I think just because I'm in a daze from what's just happened, I think it's going to have to be prescience. It's going to have to be something outside of Lucas that gets his attention, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, okay.
Like, because I was thinking protection, but then I'm like, that's a little bit too active, actually, because he's caught up in what's going on. Yeah. I don't have any modifier, just a D20.
Yeah, okay. That's cool.
That is an 18, though.
An 18 is still a pretty reasonable roll. So so let's start at the top, the 39. Chevalier with protection. I think the first thing it's going to twig with Chevalier is a certain level of tension that begins rippling through the cast. You can see there's going to be a moment where you're about to go pick up the you're chatting with someone about what props you're supposed to use, and a young messenger girl pops over and shoves a piece of paper into somebody's hand and says, "There's been a change." What do you mean there's been a change is sort of the universal reaction. We're literally halfway through the show. You do not make changes now. Well, this is the new set list. And here are the new props. What do you mean new props? We didn't have... No, there's a whole other set of props that got brought. And I think Chevalier is going to start... Chevalier is probably not a theater major by any stretch of the imagination, but I think given the effort that he's seen from his perspective, even down to the point where literally for aesthetic reasons, he's been pressed into the job of looking the part, that to make this gravity of a change, literally during the intermission, is suspicious. We'll use that phrase. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Jasper rolled a 25, as I recall.
Yeah.
I think you will probably have a do I shoot him moment, is the best way of explaining it. There's going to be a moment where you're going to see a couple of dark figures moving through the rigging above the stage. And I think there's going to be that moment where, wait a minute, they shouldn't be... No, they're just rearranging the... What are they doing with the oil lamps? And again, there's going to be that moment where clearly they're in the process of just literally rejigging part of the stage. And you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, but why would you make those lighting changes? That's going to cast an entire chunk of the stage into shadow. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah, no, that's immediate red flag, and I'm gonna slip out of the crowd and head towards the backstage area.
Sure thing. Lucas with an 18, I think, is going to be outside the dressing room because after the third time of trying to go in and help, he had someone who was one half his
Slap
height,
him in the face.
one half his height, one half his shoulder width, and five times Alexandri's attitude. Wave their finger in front of his face and explain to him that the next time he came in the door, he was getting a cream pie in the nose. Stay here. So I think he's going to be on the outside of the dressing room, and hearing a very audible discussion through the impromptu walls of it, that sound kind of like either a civil war or an arts convention, and you're not sure which. There's the best way of explaining it is you can hear the hand waving from outside.
Okay.
Like, what are you doing? You can hear the hand waving and the eye rolling from outside.
Okay.
Something isn't going well, but Ramiki seems to be at the root of it, is the impression you're getting based on the again, there's an awful lot of babbling going on in Ebonelf. And then there's an awful lot of babbling going in the local dialect of Stagehand. Chaos has clearly been unleashed, but you're not really sure what the point is. Does that... So you're aware something isn't right. Now, something about a peacock who has actually better perception rolls than Alexandri. Do me a favor and roll perception for the peacock. As dumb as it sounds, roll perception for the peacock.
It does. It's rolled at 20.
So I think
that peacock's way better than me.
I suspect at some point in time the peacock is going to inform you that that Jasper is making a beeline for Lucas, who's looking agitated.
Yeah, I'd actually be going straight for Chevalier.
Fair enough. Then that's the amended version of the story. So so yes, the peacock will inform you who's been doing the peacock doing laps. It will inform you that that Jasper is clearly making a beeline for Chevalier, and Lucas is clearly looking agitated outside the dressing room.
Am I inside the dressing room?
I'm presuming at the point you rolled an 8, you are probably off getting a drink.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll head back to the dressing room, I guess.
Is there a sense that the changes have come? Because we know that Ramiki has a reputation of sometimes just like shifting the performance a little bit mid-show. Is there a sense of like that's what is happening, or is there a sense that that's what people are assuming is what's happening?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So I think what you rolled ridiculously well. So I think I'm going to just lean on to that and say that by the time Jasper arrives, and you can't help but notice there's a peacock staring intently at you, that the impression you're going to be left with by the fourth very panicked-looking stagehand darting past with a pile of the equivalent of firecrackers that they're in the process of replacing an entire chunk of the apparat of part of the special effects department wholesale, that Ramiki has literally, apparently, at the beginning of the intermission, changed the entire second half of the show without warning. Like, literally, everyone was expecting A, and she has just informed them, actually, I've decided we're doing C. Oh, coincidentally, I brought everything you need for C. It's out back.
Something very strange is going on here, Chevalier.
Yes, though I'm not sure if it's intentional by our friend Ramiki or someone else, though someone else could certainly take advantage.
I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Lucas, can you open that door, please?
No, last time I went in there, I got threatened with a pie.
What? Alexandri walks up with
In
a
time
glass
for
of
that
wine.
last phrase, by the way.
Yeah.
Threatened with a pie.
You really need to
When
stop
that happens,
saying you're
Chevalier
going to go in
excuses
there.
himself and goes to the stage. He's sort of
Chevalier's
like,
not willing to risk a pie either. Got it.
well, it's more sort of like it's more sort of like, you have this handled. I have something else I want to do.
Okay. So Alexandria is now apparently has things handled. What is Chevalier doing?
I feel like between the three of them, someone's going to be able to talk to Ramiki.
Yeah, I can. I just don't know what's going on. So, cool.
So actually, so Chevalier's going to head off. Let's have Lucas, Jasper, and Alexandri come to terms with a pie.
I don't know what's going on, but something weird is happening.
What do you mean?
He's yelling a lot more than she normally
They're
does.
changing everything, and I need to know whether Ramiki wants all this, or whether this is a surprise.
You mean whether or not it's a surprise that Ramiki planned?
Yes.
Okay. Just gonna go into the room.
All right. So there's this. So Alexandri walks in. Somebody whirls around and puts the pie back down. Yes. What? And there's a whole bunch of people standing. So again, like I say, in relative comparison to Lucas, you're looking at a halfling woman who is a 30-year theater veteran, and has no tolerance for anybody else's shit, and her job is to keep people from coming in the dressing room, and you're about to get pied. Oh, it's you. Come on in.
Yeah. I get it. Are there changes being made?
Reiki will look at you. Yes, and then immediately goes back. No, I want that moved there. Yes, absolutely.
So you're making changes now?
Well, making them later would be too late.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So here's the problem. And I'll just get really, really close to her. Like uncomfortably close, and just say, so we're supposed to keep you safe, and we didn't know there was going to be a change.
You didn't know what the show was supposed to look like to start with. What difference does it make?
Well, now there are people moving around very quickly in places they weren't. Aren't there? To make changes?
That's the same group of people
Now-
who were moving around very quickly setting the stage up earlier, and you didn't seem concerned. Am I missing something?
Now there are oil lamps and fireworks involved.
Well,
There's been oil
If-
lamps and fireworks involved all along, but yes. That was my
If-
apologies. That was something the GM should have made clear. I mean,
in order for Chevalier to keep me safe, I have to be somewhat consistent.
and
Somewhat.
from the back left-hand corner, you're going to hear someone say, "Oh, she's remarkably inconsistent." They're going to be a loud splat immediately thereafter. And then Ramiki will glance over in the direction of the voice who's currently doing this, and then go back to looking at you.
Can one of the others come in and hear what you're saying, so that they know what changes are being made?
Just one moment. She pauses. I don't understand your concern, but I also understand it's literally your job to be concerned about this stuff, so give me 5 minutes to finish getting this him fixed, because he's incompetent, and then I'll chat with you and your friends. Thank you.
Okay. She wanders over to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Necessary costume changes. 5 minutes.
Lucas, do not let that brat go on stage until Chevalier gets back. And I'm going to climb up into the rafters.
Oh, God.
But Alexandria's
You know,
not
it's
going
nice
on
that he's not talking about me.
I'm just curious, but Alexandria's not going on stage. I mean,
I'm right here. For once, I'm being responsible.
what's Chevalier
You're
up
like,
to? In
This is...
So Chevalier has so while going back to the stage, he's sort of adapting one of the things that he was supposed to carry through. That he's like, is this thing something I'm supposed to display during the act still? And they're like, yeah,
no, it's this one
fine,
over
fine.
here now.
It's like, cool. And he's basically, as he's going to the stage, he's kind of like attaching stuff to it so that it like hooks over his shield.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, no, this is how I'm carrying it now, I guess. Wow, look how convenient this is.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he goes back to the stage, and in sort of like, you know, obviously he's not subtle, like, because he's not subtle. It's a legitimate flaw.
I was just
Those are
gonna
the
say,
words.
over 2 meters tall and more than a meter wide, large polished porcelain.
Yeah.
No, subtle is not in the vernacular. Okay.
It's legitimately the wording of the flaw, not built for subtlety.
Yes.
But what he is doing in that, it's sort of like, given that he's been just like walking around this set anyway, he's kind of just doing that partly in a sort of like, where do I go now? Okay, give me a new list of instructions because I'm just going to take note.
Yeah.
But then every now and again he sort of stops and he's just kind of like one of the little like, which I haven't seen on the new channel, I guess. A section of the sort of the large sort of armored mantle thing that's on his shoulders, kind of like opens like across the bottom, and a little like spherical drone thing comes out, and he kind of just like places it in sort of like slightly, you know, not to sort of distract from anything, but he's just like putting them around the stage.
Yes.
So that they are
you
conveniently located.
So you are prearranging so that you can use your protection ability at range to put a shield in front of Ramiki as demanded. Yes.
Yeah, it's like if she's within a certain distance, the shield can be a shield, and if she's not, the shield can be more magical.
Yes. No, I like it. That's good. That's good pre-planning of the ability. I like it.
Or it's like, or on the off chance where it's like it's something magical, we can just be like, this area is not. No.
Magic no worky here no more. Right then. So Jasper, something climbing up into the rigging.
Yeah, that's the idea.
All right. So there's about a half dozen other folks up here. All of them are dressed in, please don't see me black. Who are all of them muttering under their breaths and, pulling new, rearranging sandbags and rejigging pulleys and, switching out a backdrop without trying to drop the backdrop onto the stage. And, yeah. So.
Is there someone who looks clearly like they're in charge up here?
I think the best way of putting it is there's someone who's more obviously like they're all obviously working together. They're all obviously sort of very quietly passing. Okay, this over here now. But there's sort of one chap or well, you really can't tell, chap or lass, you can't tell. Who every once in a while seems to go, all right, next thing is this. And then they all go back to working together, right? So there seems to be at least one of them holding the to-do list, I guess is the best way of putting it.
I think it's time to invoke my perk. What's it called? Observant.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to. What is the exact wording on this? Your keen senses allow you to notice details that others miss. Once per game session, you can use the ability to notice something out of the ordinary, such as a hidden passage, bookcase, trace of blood under the fingernails of a character, etc. I'm particularly interested in like what you were saying about the way they're reorganizing the lighting, being like that would leave certain parts of the stage in darkness, etc., which seems unconventional at best. Yeah, and so I guess I'm looking for anything that looks specifically like how I would set up a trap.
I'm going to actually have to ask you, so it's going to be a learning roll followed by a logic roll, please. You are literally trying to reverse engineer how much of this is special effects and how much of this is fatal effects. Because if you don't know what the problem is, if you've ever done practical effects, particularly involving incendiaries of any kind, it really does look like someone's rigging the stage for like a minefield. But if you don't realize that it only sparkles in one direction, or etc., it can be really easy. To the untrained eye, it can look a lot more dangerous than it actually is, and inversely, to the trained eye, there are times you can look at something and think things are a lot safer than they are. You know, there's a reason that they're marked, that everything is marked with an angle, right? Don't stand on this part of the the sparks go that way, okay, etc., right? So but I mean, this isn't anything that Jasper's done before, so you're literally having to go, how does all of this work? So I think it's going to be a combination of learning and logic. So logic first, and then learning to glue it.
I think it's the other way.
Logic is deciphering codes, getting the gist of a language you don't speak, and then using learning sort of to piece it all together based on what you've met already.
Sure. The logic roll is a 17.
That's good, yes. I will allow you to roll with 17. You've actually passed the target number I was thinking, so go ahead and roll the learning with advantage 1.
Okay, I will do that, though it's unlikely to change. Yeah, it is a 23, an 18 plus 5.
All right, that's so I think there's nothing in here. I guess the best way of putting it is there's nothing up here which is inherently hostile. It's all dangerous. And there's obviously going to be a scene involving a burning building. That's obvious. But I think the rules you're coming up with,
it's not suspiciously rigged.
Yeah, exactly. Any of the accidents here are carefully planned, and literally down to the don't put that there. She'll be standing there. It's 3 feet this way, you dummy. It's sort of the discussion, right? You can hear them actively, peering down at the stage and going, no, more this way. No, it's supposed to be the 4th strut with the blue tag on it, not that one. Yeah, that's a green tag, you dummy. Move it this way. And so they're obviously it's probably. I think with the roles you've come up with and using your special ability, I'm going to give you a little bit more information than you asked for with the special ability, because I think you're not really getting the full value of the special ability. I think, and it's a once a day thing, right? It's a once per session, as I recall. So I think probably the part that's going to catch you is that at one point in time, you're going to realize that at some point, there's a little bit of thieves' cant interspersed in the general babble. In the way that when you're always working with the same group of people, you tend to use whatever language is common to you. And so I think it's going to take a couple of, just you sort of observing them quietly from your vantage point, and they're all sufficiently busy they don't really notice you. I think at some point you're going to realize that everybody up here speaks a little bit of thieves' cant. Not necessarily well, but...
Yeah, this is not particularly surprising, I don't think.
Yeah, but like I say, but they also all seem to be going out of the way not to hurt her.
Yeah.
There's an active conversation about, no, not there, you dummy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think at an appropriate time, I approach whoever the manager of this.
And by approach, you mean crawl over to, right? I mean, because
Yeah,
it's all, you know, struts and beams and whatever. There's no platforms or catwalks.
Well,
here,
I mean, other people might be crawling. I feel like Spider's just sort of like,
yes, Spider's
light
walking on his
footing.
fingers because it's more interesting that way. Yes.
yeah, it's just like, you know,
You
very.
manifest in front of this person.
Well, I don't want to surprise them in any way. I just like, I make my way over.
Yes, Jasper knows better than to surprise anybody who speaks thieves can't.
I do like the idea that they're not speaking thieves can't, they're speaking rigger can't. It's just there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah. That's basically where I'm at.
So yeah, so there's going to be this kind of collective moment where everyone looks over at you as you politely make your way visible.
Yeah, I just sort of like wave all of them except for this whoever the manager is.
Yeah, like I said, there's
Keep
one
doing
of them
what you're doing.
Yeah, there's
We've
one
got
of
a
those
schedule to keep.
Yeah, there's one of them who's obviously, whose job is obviously to run the to-do list, but time is tight, so they're up here shuffling stuff too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just look at them and I say, everything in order as much as can be.
Who are you?
Security.
Oh, you're one of the gaggle that the Missy brought in with her, aren't you? Yeah, okay. I think I saw you earlier. Yeah. Oh, it's a roaring disaster, but we're making it.
Right.
I've never seen these. I mean, yeah, it's not like we get a huge amount of practice. We do maybe 4 shows in a year. But that's the reason we take a whole damn day to do what we're doing in 20 minutes now, lads? Yeah.
How much do you trust your crew?
Hey?
How much do you trust your crew?
There's going to be kind of a. They'll all be friends. I mean, we're. It's kind of a bit. I think there's going to be that brief moment where he kind of looks at you. He kind of looks at you again and says, "We're all playing for the same team. You understand? So yeah, I think we're all okay."
No one knew. No one dropped out last minute, sick days, etc.
No, I know what you're asking. No, I all know. They're all good.
All right, and yeah, I'll return to the.
So yeah, what's that snicker there, Sam?
Oh, it's like, well, except for Jimmy the Temp over there.
Is it holding a bomb in his hand?
I'm just gonna say yes, and it's a Marvin the Martian cherry bomb.
Like, sort of like, do you trust these people? It's like, with my work, yes. My staff, no. My money, no.
Okay.
Once I've done like my little setup thing, I do just go back to where the others were.
So you're going to be arriving to an amusing scene of Ramiki and an entourage, including a halfling armed with a pie, having a very serious discussion with Lucas about why it is they're not allowed to leave yet.
I'm just standing there. Sorry, I've been given orders to
thing off.
No pies have been fired yet. It looks like you're arriving just in the name of time to avert hostilities, but it is still a very awkward-looking moment.
Even if there is pie on the... He is stopping from going up on stage.
All right.
Yeah, I see that. I walk up, and I go up to Ramiki, and I say,
"Who's by the way? Who's doing the classic diva with a migraine pose?"
Alexander.
I think Lucas has seen Alexandre do that around him a lot. So.
I think Lucas has seen a lot of people do that around him. Chevalier, I woke up and I say, Lady Shawizi, I apologize for the imposition, but we needed to respond to the change of circumstances. I believe things should be as acceptable as we can manage at the time.
I think there's going to be an absolutely impish smile on Ramiki's face, and she says, "Oh, I think the problem." She kind of pauses. I'm going to apologize now. So I don't think this is the problem. I think the problem is probably song number 4. But so just be aware. And then she's going to be very sternly. She goes from being a diva to a Spanish man of war deploying all sails, and she's heading for the stage.
Yeah, I'll just
Sandri's
scroll
following
up
as
to
long
the
as she's
group.
allowed to.
Up and up on the up above. I think we're all right.
Mm-hmm. I think because Lucas is the Angweir, I think a young lass is going to very politely sidle up beside Lucas and say, "She's lost her fucking mind."
Oh.
Lucas, you're muted.
Yeah, didn't hear that.
Am I? Oh, I'm like, what? This isn't normal.
So whoever she is just a little bit shorter than you are, kind of plain, very bright eyes, obviously, and she looks stressed out of her mind. You actually don't recall seeing her around before. And she's going to say she's literally picked the worst song set she's got. She systematically picked every song she was told not to play here.
Why?
I don't know what she's up to.
Right.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to go and find Alexandre. Oh no.
What?
Alexandre.
What?
And
No,
the lights come up.
So it's not anyone else that is sabotaging this event. It is her.
And that's where we'll leave it for this week. Thanks, everybody.
Nice.
Damn.
I don't know if it's a damn that Lucas was told, like, figured that one out.
Right. It's great.
Like, the one that's standing at the door, like, it's just like, not allowed in. I can't climb. You're over there setting up guardrails, and I'm just here, like, remembering how good the music was and how I want those lovers to be together at the end.
He does the was it the Joey meme where he's just sitting there quietly, see the eyes just sort of just go wide.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Alexandri's like, "Ooh, fireworks! That sounds fun. This is going to be exciting. This is nothing like the show she did in Shining Capital. Like, that's totally gonna. Oh, right, that's the point. Oh.
Did I mention that that part of the scene set involved burning buildings?
No,
I'm just
I wish you hadn't.
only to me. The problem
Jasper
is
knows
I'm
that
kind
bit.
of on board. I just like it sounds like
kind of on board. Your
Burn
job
the
is
house
literally
down.
not to be on board.
Burn the house down. Burn the house down.
She's literally bringing down the house. There is no way
the house
Alexandra can
might
meet
be
that.
the bad guys.
No, we've been asked to. We've got a job to do.
Reiki Ramiki? Find out next time.
Yeah.
Or now. Michelle will tell us.
I was just gonna say. So here's the thing. I know it's like 2. It's 11 for me, so that makes it like 2 a.m. for you lot, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, you guys need to go to bed. So
Next-
I'm not going to claim I didn't want to end on a cliffhanger, and I'm not going to claim that that Lucas going, "Oh my God, she's the problem," isn't probably the best line I could have come up
Yeah.
with.
Oh, it was just.
Oh yeah.
Everyone else was walking around going, well, it's either option A or option B. And it's like, oh, good, option B, which doesn't rule out option A, but fun. Let's go.
Yes, great mustache. You have it. Congratulations. So that will be next.
Yeah. I was
That will be
putting
next
that.
week. Sorry, I figured the players knew where it was going, but
No.
if the audience is going, oh gosh, I see it, then I'm absolutely going to nod yes, absolutely.
Now I'm scared of the zombies.
once it's like, once it was like, what's the worst song that she could, like, performance she could do? It was like, fun.
So yeah, we will resume next week with.
we won't, will we? No.
Oh, that's right. Drew is out next week.
Drew is out.
Right. Okay. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. So
2
you can all
weeks.
smolder a little bit about that.
2 weeks.
I
I will smolder deeply.
It's a deep smolder.
This morning. Oh,
Smoldering.
this is an excuse to use your smoky eye makeup.
Oh.
That's clearly only
It's gonna-
appropriate for the post-show party. Come on.
Yeah. Well, look, it will be just like a
Party.
deep smoke eye.
You think?
Fire eye? Make note, fire eyes?
Yeah, fire eyes. Maybe fire eyes are appropriate next Saturday. Okay. Alrighty, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it is goodbye time. So let's start with the guy who's going to be most goodbye for the longest time, Drew.
All right, goodbye, everybody. My name is Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Wilson. Yeah, I'll be here in 2 weeks' time.
All
It
right.
was fun tonight. I had a great time.
I'm glad to hear it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sam.
Hey, I've been Sam. Find me on Twitter at _RealSammyP. It's also a lot of fun. A lot
Good.
of personal theater flashbacks.
I was trying to be
Uh,
as traumatizing as possible.
feeling
honestly.
I've met every one of these NPCs in my actual life. So.
Yes. Haven't
Or
we
been
all?
them.
Haven't
Or
we
been
all?
one of those NPCs in my actual life.
Yeah. For those, by the way, for those of you who do not know, either catching the VOD or watching Reel, they're all literally theater majors. I think I'm the only one who's not actually a theater major. I'm just one by proxy. So.
You've done the hours.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, no one's taught me. I've just lived vicariously and learned from everybody else who does it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so all right, Sam, where else can we find you? Any big shows coming up?
No, I don't think so.
All right, cool. All right, Jamie.
That's me. I'm Jamie Collette. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or on my website, jamie-collette.com. I'm a professional voice actor. And given that we're not going to be here for 2 weeks, I also encourage you all to check out streamedshakespeare.com, where I recently directed Richard III, including Drew Wilson in the roles of Clarence and Richmond. And that weekend, I don't have exact date or time, but that weekend in 2 weeks when we will be playing next, either some hours before our game or some hours after our game, I will be part of a roundtable discussion about Richard III and
Ooh.
Shakespearean history.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. All right. All right. That brings us up to Chantal B.
Yeah. I'm Chantal B. I'm a many things, a writer, actor, psychologist, but apparently now cosplayer, because on Monday night, Eastern time, 7 p.m.,
Yeah.
I will be playing on action_fiction twitch.tv/action_fiction, playing Castle Falkenstein. And it is a fully cosplayed stream, which will be amazing because it's like a combination of fantasy, steampunk, and like Victoriana. So
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh. That's, yeah.
everything is amazing and it's beautiful. I learned how to do makeup for this purpose. Like
I understand.
literally that's actually how that works. So there's that. And then on Tuesday, you can probably find me at any_actors channel playing some more Good Society at probably 7 p.m. Eastern time. But like, I think all of us or most of us on that game have ADHD. So like sometime around 7 p.m. Like,
I feel attacked.
We-
I mean,
we don't know how to do early or late. Like we just know that we want to play, and we're a game where we it's a rom-com game that we're playing, and
oh my
it's
gosh.
we just want kisses. Like we've all decided as a group, like my character's husband now has to tragically die so that my character can get kisses. Like that has been a narrative discussion that has happened.
Right
So,
then. So on
yeah.
that note, all right.
If you have a husband, there's other ways to get kisses.
Just, you
I
know.
don't have a husband of
Boring.
my own. I don't know. Maybe that's not how it works.
If you had met Nadine's character, you would be tragically wishing your husband died too.
Oh gosh! All right, now I'm gonna have to watch that.
She's intense.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and of course I'm Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the storyteller and games master of this fantastic crowd. You can catch up with me at MichelV69 on Twitter. And I think there's exceedingly strong odds that I'm going to get back to my schedule of Sunday morning GM's Familiar Story tomorrow, starting tomorrow. So I had to take a break for mental health reasons, but I'm feeling much better now. Yeah, so the idea is to get back to it tomorrow morning, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, join in, drop in, say hi. We'll be talking about, well, amongst other things, this game, including the interesting stuff that goes on behind the curtain as the GM. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. We are Lost Worlds Archive. We've got all kinds of great stories to tell. We're looking forward to having you along. If you're catching this on the VOD later on, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. If you're watching us live, thank you for cheering on in the audience and guessing along at the plot and all the other good stuff. A few folks I know who are in the audience right now have sent me emails and PMs and stuff, and now that we actually have show number 1 version, revision 1, copy number 2 in the can, because of course we lost show number 1 for real. So this is show number 1, number 2. Now that we got that one done, I'll be getting that stuff out in front of the rest of the cast, talking about stuff and getting back to people. So take care of yourselves, have fun with whatever games you play, and there's all kinds of good things to come. Bye-bye.